new ways of becoming. Yes, it can seem rather elusive to get there, but when you are in it, you feel it down to your very core, and it can positively affect everything in your life, from your relationships to your health and well-being, from your career path to your abundance, from the quality of your inner connection to the fullness of your self-expression. Here on the Christine Upchurch Show, we explore ways to get into that vibration of change with experts in the fields of consciousness, psychology, spirituality, health, healing, and science. Are you ready to step into your vibration of change? Hello, everybody. Welcome. So grateful you're joining us here today. You might be listening live on 1150 AM KKNW in the Seattle area, on transformationtalkradio.com. Perhaps you're watching on Facebook Live on my professional page, or after the fact on my YouTube channel, or one of the dozens of podcasts it sets up. But wherever and whenever you're joining us from today, very grateful to have you here. We are at a huge transition point on our planet right now. And I think that some of us feel it and some of us don't. Some of us think that we're getting back to normal, and some of us realize that something big is underway. And before I start sharing some of my thoughts about that, I want to say hello to the people behind the technology. Benny Mathers at KKNW. Hi, Benny.
Hi, Christine. You're back for another one, and you did the thing that I liked last week, and you lit up your little jewel behind you, or crystal, I should say.
Yes. It's one of these interesting creations. I was at a gem show with a friend in Denver a number of years ago. And she's one of these people who, like, she can talk to crystals and she knows all the properties of them, and really fun to be with. And it was the night that they were setting up. So the night before this place was being open, and she sort of wandered in there and said, "Oh, what do you have here?" And she started to look at the various things, and he actually set several of them up. And I tell you, it was, in my opinion, the very best one. And it's just beautiful. It's got great energy, and it's beautiful too. So
it is amazing.
Yes.
So if you guys have a chance, you should definitely check it out. Hit up the YouTube. There it is. Or go to the Transformation Talk Radio website, and you'll see this beautiful crystal.
Yeah. And it's actually bigger than it appears. Well, hello, Sam.
Same with the cat.
Yeah.
The cat's bigger than it appears.
Yeah, that too.
That too, right?
And there's his tail.
It's a tiger.
Yes. Live radio. It's funny because, if I'm doing something that's, this is going to sound funny, but where the professional quality is more important in terms of the final product. I'm the host of the 2021 Nautilus Book Awards Author Spotlight Series, and they want something, extremely well produced. And so it's like the cats have to be out. But when I'm doing shows out there, and it's a little less formal. And so what I do is, if there's a cat in my room to start, I don't close the door, which means that, the one that's in my room may come and want to be on the show, or they may come and go, and you never know. There might even be a cat fight in the background. We just never know what's going to happen on live radio.
I think we have experienced that a time or two, and now you just kind of like, no hold bars. Just go ahead and open up the doors, let things run around, be free.
Betty, after doing the show, it's like I've been doing radio, on the host side of the mic for, 9 years now, and doing my own show for 8.5 years. And so, I've just started to learn to go with the flow. And that includes today, where our guest seems to be a no-show. And hello, Jacob at Transformation Talk Radio. How are you today?
Doing so well. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. We've got some rain here in the Seattle area, which is a good thing because we've been stuck in a drought, and the plants are very happy about that. So
I'm a big fan of the rain right now. I'm really enjoying it today.
Yeah. I'm hoping to see plenty of sunshine. It's funny because in the Seattle area, once the rain sets in, August, September, early October, we don't know when we're going to see the sun again. So it's kind of like this welcoming of the moisture for the plants and for nature and for our water supply, but also a little bit of concern about not seeing the sun for a long time. So, yeah, but the forecast says we're going to see some sunshine. Speaking of darkness, when we don't know when we're going to see the sun again. I think that we are experiencing a deep shadow in humanity right now. Over the last year and a half or so, our world has changed dramatically. And it's interesting because they're almost two different perspectives about what's going on. And there's a particular narrative that we see in the mainstream media that says one thing. But when you start to dig a little deeper, you see that there's a whole other narrative underway. And, regardless of what you believe, regardless of what you see as truth, what you identify as falsehoods, one of the things that's really clear to me right now is that we are experiencing a dreary reign of the collective. We're experiencing the shadow side of the collective. We're beginning to question what's true, what's not, what's the real motivation. One of the things I've experienced over the years as I've gotten to be more clear about my own vibration, and as I got into the healing realm and started tuning in energetically, is sometimes what we experience with an individual is they look right on paper, they seem right, they smile, you interact with them, and it's almost like, oh my gosh, I should really trust this person. I should really like this person. But if you're discerning about the energy, you realize there's a whole other level of what's going on. It might be manipulation. It might be control. It might be ego, wanting to boost themselves up. I think what happens in the consciousness realm sometimes is there's some fabulous teachers. There's some fabulous leaders. Don't get me wrong. But there are some who are very ego-based. And at first they lure you in with I think of the cotton candy fluff of spirituality, the feel-good stuff. And they might have some very valid things to say. And you might view some of what they say as truth. And yet, as you tune into their vibration, as you follow them along down their narrative, down the timeline of what they're expressing and what you're experiencing based on your interaction with them, you may begin to identify what I called a split vibration, a divided vibration, wherein they're presenting one way, but we sense something very different is going on. And so there's this conflict. And the more discerning we get with our own vibration, with the clarity of our boundaries, with the clarity of interpreting the energy around us, we begin to perceive that divided vibration more and more. And from my perspective, in terms of our individual conscious journey, that is a part of waking up. That's an important part of waking up. And it's not just about discerning the shadow side in others. It's also being very aware of the shadow side within. So for instance, years ago, I would begin to notice the multiple layers of my own energetic vibration and intention. For instance, somebody said, oh, well, I tried this healer and didn't like them, and I'm drawn to you. And part of me would be like, oh, good. I hope that, I can prove that, I'm valid. Another part of me was like, whatever, however it works out, it's all up to the universe. Another part of me would, have this like little sense of competition. It might be just momentarily like that, but it was the kind of thing where I begin to discern that I had multiple layers of vibration, of intention, of psychology, and I began to get very discerning with myself, like, oh, there's my ego there. Oh, there's my sense of not feeling worthy and wanting to prove my worthiness. And oh, there's my connection to the divine that wants to show up and serve. And so as I began to get more and more clarity about my own divided vibration, it allowed me to see more of my woundedness, to clear out some of my ego stuff, to kind of like, share within my own consciousness, well, there's this piece, there's this piece, there's this piece. And to be okay with that and observe it. And then to start to clear out aspects of it that weren't in that soul path. And it's not like it's all cleared out. Obviously, it's a lifelong journey, and probably many lives of journeys. But it's the kind of thing where when we begin to discern our own divided vibration, we begin to become more sensitive to others' divided vibrations. And so, for instance, in what's going on right now in our world, there are very different perspectives about what's really underway with this thing that people are putting into their arm. And without getting into my perspective on that per se, what I think I want to invite you to do is to look at your own divided vibration. For instance, if you feel like something is in alignment with truth, something's in alignment with the collective benefit, are you finding yourself feeling holier than thou and judging somebody else about their perspective? I mean, if so, that's absolutely a divided vibration. If you feel like you need to wake somebody else up because they are, they've got their blinders on. I mean, it's one thing to serve and to speak your truth, but it's a whole other thing to have attachment to controlling somebody else's conscious journey. And so as we become more and more aware of our own divided vibration, of our own ego being disguised as soul, it allows us to look at our own woundedness. Like, are we afraid of being wrong? Are we afraid of not being worthy if we don't show up in a particular way and show that we care about humanity, or we care about our community, or we care about our family or our friends? That having that clarity about the different layers of how we feel, who we are, and how we're expressing ourselves is a really important thing to be able to discern. Because that without the clarity about the different pieces, and I trust me, folks, there we have the various pieces to our psyche, to our expression of self in human form, which partly is soul, partly is ego, partly is our physicality, partly is the conditioning within our culture, within our family, within our tribe. Until we can discern the different pieces, we can't have clarity of what the soul is telling us to do. We can't have clarity of soul expressing itself through us. And it doesn't mean that the soul isn't ever expressing itself if we don't have that clarity, but that clarity allows us to say, okay, well, there's this piece that is judging that they're wrong and I'm right. And that part isn't serving. And we can just be aware of it. And it's like, okay, we may be right, in fact, in the 3D realm, but that judgment isn't serving. So if we can have that clarity and sort of see the different pieces and say, okay, well, here's a soul piece. And these other pieces I'm going to observe, be aware of, and not give too much power to, or not try to give too much opportunity to express itself, and have that clarity of this is soul, this is what I want to express on a soul level while in human form, within the context of this shadow that we're facing, this shadow that we are moving through, this collective shadow, the drizzly rain instead of the sunshine of our collective expression. So I want to encourage you to, get to be as discerning as possible, get to be as aware as possible about your own divided vibration, about the various aspects of yourself expressing themselves through your human experience. Because as we get clarity, we can decide what to give power to, what to give expression to, because ultimately, I think that each of us yearns to express our soul, express source through our human experience as much as possible. So if we can become more discerning, we see what needs to be healed. We give power to that which really needs to have the power to get us through this collective shadow. And, for some of you, you may think that the collective shadow is the external events of illness, of health. And for some of you, you may view the collective shadow as the control, the judgment. I saw a great quote today by Noam Chomsky. And, it was something along the lines of, you may view history as remembering that 6 million Jews were killed. But really what history should be teaching us is what led all those Germans to implement that. It's not the exact quote, but that was the whole concept. So within the context of the health situation, we're seeing a lot of control, and we're seeing a lot of judgment. We're seeing a lot of bad behavior of both people who have some power, as well as people who think they're showing up and expressing soul, but being very judgmental, allowing their shadow side to come out, and seeing some violence within the context of people speaking their truth. So anyway, it's a really important time now for us to have some awareness, have some detachment, and to be very discerning of not only what's going on within ourselves, to discern what's shadow, what's soul, and what we're going to give power to. I think it's very helpful to have that same kind of detachment and to look out on the world at the events without, buying into any narrative, but to see the behavior, to see the shadow side appearing in a variety of ways, so that we can be discerning about what's really good for the collective and what's really the shadow side for us to navigate our way through. Anyway, that's just some of my thoughts about what's going on. And I try to stay as high level as possible, not just to get some of the concepts across, but because we have to be very careful in these days of censorship to talk about anything specific. Because as I know from personal experience, the show can get censored, get kicked off of YouTube. My AM station, my beloved AM station, 1150 AM in Seattle, can get penalized if I say the wrong things, which is a very sad state of the collective shadow. So it's the modern version of book burning. I understand that we've connected with our guest. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a break here. And when we return, we're going to see what other goodies we have in store from somebody who has had some amazing experiences tapping into this other realm and connecting with other beings. Stay tuned for more here on the Christine Upchurch Show in just a few moments.
Great. All clear. And your guest is there if you want to say hi.
Hello. Okay, so do we have her on video?
I can't because she doesn't have the Zoom link, but I can only give the audio.
Okay, so is there a way to get her the Zoom link?
You can talk to her. She should be there.
Yes, I can.
You can send me the Zoom link maybe in the chat here.
Yep, I'm on it right now.
Okay, thank you, Benny.
Okay.
That's Jacob.
Oh, it's Jacob. Sorry.
No
Your
worries.
voices sound too similar. At least with Olivia, it was clear.
All right, here's that Zoom link right now in the chat. And just to double check, I might email that to you as well.
Okay. The thing is, she's on the phone. I can't get
Right.
that link to her. So.
I'm gonna send her an email right now with that
okay.
as well.
Cool.
Is it in the chat?
So I've got you on a phone line, not the Zoom. So I can't give you the Zoom from where I'm at. Jacob's gonna email you.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So I think you should see an email from him to join the Zoom link.
Yep.
Okay, let me check.
Yep. He's working on it. I'll just play some commercials.
Thank you.
Marina
Ben.
Seren at gmail.com is great.
Yes, it has 2 N's at the end.
Got it. All right. It's just sent right now.
Okay.
And then
Oh, it's is it Seren, Seren?
With 2 N's at the end for the email.
Yes, with 2
Okay.
N's at the end.
that's
Because what I've got is Len. It's
oh,
Ren.
No, it's Marina Seren with 2 N's at the end.
Okay, because what I had was Marina Sullen,
oops.
Selen. So it's Serenn.
Oh, that is not.
Hmm.
Oh, no wonder
What?
I wasn't receiving them.
Yep.
It's with an R.
Ah,
Okay. I sent it to Marina Seren with 2 N's at gmail.com. Did you get that? It'll come from Jacob at the
Okay, let me check.
drpatshow.com.
Okay, it's charging.
So you got the link, okay?
Oh, great. Yes.
Okay. So
All
I'll
right.
hang up on the phone
Very
with you, and then you can dial into the Zoom, okay?
Oh, okay.
Hopefully that works out.
thanks for letting me know, Benny,
Mm-hmm.
that you had her.
Yeah, I'll see if she comes in. She hasn't hung up on the phone yet, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I haven't seen her in Zoom quite yet.
Nope.
Yeah, it's taking a little bit to charge.
Okay. Yeah, we were having issues today too, so I mean, we might just have to do.
Oh, I see.
Well, I maybe what we could do is we could go live and then just message me, Benny, when and if I don't see the message after like a minute to just butt in and let me know.
Oh, finally it's working. Yeah. Should I stop the call here?
Yes, end the call,
Let's-
and then I'll bring
well-
you.
Okay.
I can't do two
There
things.
she is. She's in Zoom right now. I
Okay.
just got her.
Yep. And
Okay,
she
good.
hung up on the other.
Great. Okay. She's coming in.
Ah, there she is.
And it's just a second to connect to audio and then.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Hi. Yay.
All right. I'll just have you unmute and then we'll be good to go.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. So you ready to come back,
Mhm.
or do you need a little bit of time?
Yes, good.
She just needs to unmute. There we go. Perfect.
Can we hear her
Right.
from her first?
Hello.
There we go. Thank you.
Beautiful.
All right, we're gonna bring her back on. Stand by.
Where you are.
Welcome back. For those of you who are listening on the AM station, you would be hearing Michael Tomlinson. He is a fabulous musician, very conscious man. You can find his music at michaeltomlinson.com. All right, we have a guest now. I'm so grateful she's here. Her name is Marina Seren. She's an international speaker. She's an extraterrestrial contactee, a multidimensional channeler, and an ET artist. And she's very young, and yet she's got deep wisdom because of her connection. And today I'm really grateful to be having her join us today. I think she may be joining us from España, I believe, from Spain. I'd like to welcome our guest today, Marina Seren. Hi, Marina.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I'm so grateful that we figured out how to connect. I think that there was a glitch with the communication. But I trust in the perfection of how things unfold. And so I'm just going to trust that the message I gave to people the first half, the third of our show, was something that somebody out there needed to hear.
Yes, I agree with it too.
Yeah. So I'm really fascinated by your story. Tell us a little bit about your awakening.
Sure. When I started my awakening, I was about 15 years old, and I was in high school. And I actually experienced a really strong Kundalini awakening. I was initially interested in sciences, specifically in quantum science, quantum physics. And so that's when I started to have my first awakening, which is the mind, getting all these concepts about the dynamics of how the universe works on a metaphysical perspective. So I was really intrigued also about the origins of human life. I started to get downloads and information that I didn't know that I had, previously. And so I started to question the nature of evolution, of human evolution, to the point that I thought that it couldn't be real that we came from just an evolutionary offspring of apes or humanoids. So I started to get the strong feeling that maybe we weren't just humans, like from, hominids, but maybe also hybrids with extraterrestrial species. Because if we will compare us to other species on the planet, our kind of like evolutionary course was so intense, was so different, that something extraordinary must have happened in the environment to trigger us to kind of like change and mutate in such a way. And other animals could have also taken that path because there are thousands of species in planet Earth. So that made me realize that, yes, indeed, we were hybridized individual, and that there were many genetics, many features of humans, such as Rh negative, that didn't make any sense as to like how our genome mutated itself to create what we know as our human race. So that's how I started to have, kind of like little pieces of information, and I started to get more and more of a bigger picture on how the universe really works and what is our true origins as humans. And so I got interested about the fact that we were this kind of hybrids, that we were not alone, and that we were some sort of like genetic experiment from the skies, from the space. And that's when I reviewed the astronaut theory that we were created by the Anunnaki, and that there were certain beings that were connected to us, that there were some beings here on Earth to help, on a mission, on a spiritual mission, to help remember the rest of the world, what's going on right now, and what's our true history. And that's what I got to know about the indigo children, the star seeds, the light workers, and all of that. And it was really exciting. And I had my first UFO sighting, and I started to have some sort of experiences in the astral with this kind of extraterrestrial consciousness, which then I realized it was my family. So it was really, really interesting and really amazing at first.
Marina, I think that there are plenty of people out there, and they're the kind of people who listen to these sorts of shows and follow people like you, who have never felt like they belong. There's this. So I'm wondering if there is a difference between some of them who, like, if you say that we're all hybrids, as humans in a sense, but you also talk about starseeds. Is there a different path for some versus others?
Well, yes, we all have different paths for sure, but talking about groups like starseeds, light workers, we definitely have something different. We definitely have a different mission because of our genetics, and it's true that we're all hybrids, but what differentiates starseeds from other kind of humans, it's more Earth connected. It's that we have a little bit more of experience on other star systems integrated in our genetics, That's why we chose specific lineages that had a little bit more of extraterrestrial DNA percentage, because we're more compatible with that physical DNA. And so when we incarnate ourselves, we're making another kind of hybridization. We are blending our metaphysical DNA that has more connections and more consciousness integrated from other star system into that physical lineage. So we are upgrading in every time, and we're grounding more of the extraterrestrial frequencies on Earth.
So when you talk about those other layers of DNA, um, I have heard, and then I haven't seen any proof of it, in the 3D realm, but I've heard that we've got the 3D version of DNA, but then there are energetic strands as well. So are you talking about integrating more of those energetic strands into the physical body?
Yes, exactly. It's integrating that hybridization between the metaphysical soul DNA and the physical third dimensional DNA.
Mm-hmm. So I know that you had a significant awakening, and you've gotten this information. But how does the person have a good sense about whether or not they are starseeds?
Well, the first sign is that you feel excited about it, because that's actually tells you that you're connected to it, that you are part of this, because otherwise you wouldn't be excited about it. And I have talked about the starseed to many other people, and they don't have a feeling. It doesn't make them kind of like create any sort of emotional reaction inside of them. So the fact that somebody could be attracted to this idea or excited or interested might be like a sign telling them you are this.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because one of the phrases that's come out of my mouth probably 1,000 times at least over the years is, "This planet is so dense." Which
Yes.
To me, it's like when we experience this heaviness from the collective, from the belief systems, from the behavior, to me that is also a sign that our true nature, where we come from, that we're really connected to, or we're more aware of, it's discordant with what we're experiencing on Earth.
Yeah, 100% agree. The Earth is now really interesting because we're able to experience so much polarity consciousness that it kind of like makes you to grow yourself, to be a master of your own, to be really empower yourself. So many people have observed this moment as a really exciting time for transformation, and many others as an opportunity to transform and their own polarity consciousness that they were exploring in other star systems, such as Orion. That was also a really devastating star system.
I'm not aware of that. So what information do you have about that?
Well, in Orion, there was a lot of tyranny that we have experiencing now, a lot of really similar dynamics that we're exploring here, and many similar ideas. So basically, the Anunnaki, which are the creators of the human race, were involved in many of these negative narratives or the Orion constellation. And there were many wars in which many lineages around the galaxy were involved in these, warlike tendencies and stories and experiences. So there was a lot of suffering, there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of polarity, as I was saying, like in Earth. So like what happened is that many of those souls, instead of getting recycled into that star system, as we have Orion DNA ourselves, they observe like humanity and the Earth consciousness as an opportunity for them to reincarnate because they're compatible, and then have a little bit more of a system. Because what makes Earth so attractive to those souls is that as we have been hybridized by more than just one species, like, not just the Orion people or the Anunnaki, the Proto-Sapiens that are called, also the Hyper-Sapiens, which is the Seren, the Andromeda and the Pleiadians, that have a lot of Christ consciousness embedded in their DNA, not some of like the fallen angel, but the Christ consciousness. Yeah. That helps balance the DNA, those negative karmic aspects of their DNA. So they will, if they incarnate as humans, they will have more systems from their side.
So you're referring to what we'd say in English, Christ consciousness, correct? Yes. And it's interesting because I felt like that's what I've been interacting with for many years now. And over the last 6 to 9 months, I've found myself saying that phrase repeatedly and feeling the energetic shift. It's kind of like this tingly empowerment. So I'm wondering if there are people who are waking up to this shift, but waking up through their connection to Christ consciousness.
Yes, definitely. That's what actually is going on right now. Our DNA is carbon based, which is not crystalline. And so in these times of transformation, the more that we awaken more of our true nature as light beings, as love beings of compassion and unity, we are shifting from a carbon based DNA structure to a silica base, which is more of a crystalline structure. So crystalline is basically a kind of like similar word to Christ consciousness, Christ. That's why there's many times when we hear about crystalline aura, we are also referring to the idea of Christ consciousness and Christ energies.
So what does that mean in terms of our physicality with that transformation more towards the crystalline energy?
Well, it means that since our genetic structure will be more crystalline, our vibration, our particles could be able to vibrate faster. And the more faster that you vibrate, more like that you are integrated in the moment, that you're embracing in your physical expression in the moment. So more of the light on higher aspects of yourself, that you will be grounded back to the lower aspect of yourself, which is the physical.
So in a sense, this is, I think you're basically underscoring what I've been saying to people for a long time. It's like we went through the stage where it was about connecting with that higher frequency vibration and but now we're being required to bring that into the physical body, which is a whole different experience. So is that process part of what is illuminating both the individual shadow and the collective shadow?
Yes, exactly. By integrating our shadows and doing shadow work is when we are able to shine more of the light, because the light actually needs a dark space to shine in. Just as in the universe, there is dark energy, dark matter, like being the space for the suns and the stars to shine in. That's the same process. We need to integrate that shadow so that we have more space to put our light to shine in brighter.
That makes perfect sense. So from my perspective, the tyranny that you talked about is very evident today. And I'm fascinated by many people who've been in the consciousness community who aren't seeing the same thing that others are seeing. They view the tyranny differently. They view the tyranny as, individuals aren't getting with the collective program and helping the community. Whereas there's some who are saying, wait a minute, this narrative about helping the collective by taking certain actions within the physical realm that I'm not going to say so we don't get kicked off of YouTube, that is what is in the best and highest good. But there's some who are saying, wait a minute, that's actually, although they are espousing that that's good for unity, it's actually the tyranny taking over. What's your perspective on that?
Well, I perceive that we are all creating our reality, and that there are certain aspects of our governments and our society that many souls will see as different, with different values. I think that besides that relativity, we are all getting in contact with that holistic negative forms of oppression, and suppression. So I think we're all awakening also in awareness to that aspect of ourselves, in a sense, of our collective, and that we may have different ways to deal with it or interpret it, but we're all awakening to that, and we're all deciding that we're tired of that.
She's frozen. Marina, your screen has frozen. I can't hear you anymore. Jacob, do you still have her there?
It looks like she might be having some internet issues at the moment.
Okay. All right. So let's see if we can ask the powers that be to help with the connection. Hello? There we go. Yes, you were frozen there for a moment. So if you have, like, what kinds of connections do you have? You say that you're a contactee. Are we talking about, we just lost her completely. Interesting. We're going to take a quick break and see if we can fix this connection. Stay tuned.
Okay, we're at a break.
Okay, thanks.
Or I'll just play some music. We love Michael.
We do.
That's okay. Looks like she's
All right,
back.
looks like she's back now.
Okay.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Be tricky when you're doing this overseas.
Yeah.
What time is it there in Spain?
It is about 9, 8 and 46.
Ah.
So we're ready to come back in then?
We are,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Stand by.
Welcome back. We have our guest, Marina Seren, back. And Marina, you say that you've been a contactee. What does that mean?
Well, it means that you're getting in touch with higher aspects of yourself that are expressing themselves in us different kind of consciousness, which is other, part of other star systems. Because when we have extraterrestrial consciousness, we're just not creating like interaction with other beings that are just different species. It's aspects of our own consciousness many times, because right here on Earth, many of those expressions of our oversoul are deciding to participate in our assistance to Earth, to their transformational times of Earth. So most of them are kind of like family or other expressions of ourself.
So you're saying that we've got some heavy duty help underway right now. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So can you get more specific about who and what that help is?
Well, there are many different beings from different galaxies and star systems, but the highest percentage of these beings are the ones that are part of our genetic makeup, which is the ones that I was talking about, because of their specific genetic connections. So they see this as an opportunity for them, not just for us to be helped, but for them to be of service, because when you're of service, you're also being service to self. You're also helping yourself to grow farther.
Mm-hmm. So I have heard from those who have, that regular connection with ETs, shall we call them? I know that, part of it is we think in terms of aliens, but I think there's also like light beings, consciousness, the various types, that because of the free will here on Earth, that we have to invite the help in. Is that correct? We've got a frozen screen here. Let's hope that we can get this connection back in line. Anyway, I think Marina's, she's frozen again. Okay, I'm going to share my perspective on it. I think that we have to be very careful what kind of help we invite in. And I'm not saying to be fear-based about the energetic help, but rather to think in terms of connecting with source, connecting with our higher self, with our higher mission, and the energies that are in alignment with that. I often think in terms of the energies, the beings, whatever the help is that are here for our best and highest good, that are here in alignment with pure love, that are here in alignment with Christ consciousness, not to be afraid of the others, because I think that fear gets us to this place of a very contracting energy. It disconnects us from that source. And when you think about all the fear that has come through the narrative over the last year and a half, it makes it clear why more and more people are having a harder time connecting sometimes with that higher source. Hello, Marina. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, to be here again.
We seem to be having some internet issues.
Yes.
There we go. Okay, so I was just sharing my perspective on asking for help.
Yes.
And I really do think that we have to be aware of the kind of help we invite in, that we want to invite the help in that's in alignment with Christ consciousness, with love, whatever you want to call it. Do you feel it's important that we invite help in at this time of transformation?
Yes, because many times these beings are there waiting for their own call to be received, to be because they, as much as they wish they could help us, regardless of any interference in our communication, they have to have a green light given by us for them to co-create with us more energetically active, because there's allowed non-interaction, So sometimes it will have to take us to be aware of their help, of their possibility of getting assisted, for us to say, yes, come to us, we're ready, we want to co-create, so that they can be more in communion with us and, yes, participate.
Do you feel that we need to be cautious about who and what we invite in?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot that we have to take in. We have to develop a lot of discernment, because of course there are other beings that doesn't want the best for us and will try to take advantage of our not ability to see what's going on the other side.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, Marina, because a few months ago, I tend to be a fairly peaceful person. It's not that I haven't expressed anger. I've had big anger in my life, stuff that needed to be healed. But in terms of, I don't have a warrior kind of pose typically. It's like, I take bugs out in a bug jar. I don't eat things that flew, crawled, swam. It's just, it's sort of in my nature. But I found myself being called to be a warrior against some very dark energy, and I won't go into details here. Do you feel that we are in a battle right now of sorts?
I do agree that there is a spiritual battle going on, and that's why the indigo children are described as being warrior personalities, or rebellious energies, because when there is a structure that has been crystallized in a specific star system or civilization, there needs to be a shattering. There needs to be someone to create a rebellion to shatter that structure, that crystalline structure, to be able to create a new one. And that's when the crystal children come here after the indigo to crystallize again back a different structure.
That makes perfect sense. Do you feel that we are going to be moving through the shadow to light, or do you think that the tyranny is going to win?
Oh, I believe that the times of the light has come, whether if we are prepared for it or not individually. But I totally agree that it's just not in the hands of humans. It's also in the hands of the earth, because Earth's consciousness is their own consciousness. So I believe that she is deciding for herself too.
That gives me chills, actually. Yeah. And so, I've personally experienced multiple of my own timelines, so to speak. Do you feel like our frequency is aligned with the frequency of Earth healing?
Yes, that's a human resonance. And, there has been, over the time, there has been many groups, but many different negative-oriented groups and governments that has wanted to separate us from that frequency. Instead of listening to music, for example, in the tune of 432 hertz, they have kind of like insisted that we will use, made mandatory that the music will be tuning 440 hertz, which is not aligned with sacred geometry and sacred numerology, with mathematical proportions that are actually mimicking that geometrical divine structures of the light, the structure of existence and the universe, So yes, over the time there has been a lot of sabotage, but those frequencies are available for us to tune in and to be able to heal our bodies, because everything is frequency and everything is vibration. So
yeah, and I so align with you about the the connection to sacred geometry. We could go down a whole rabbit hole. We're starting to run out of time here. Before we go any further, I want to make sure people know how they can connect with you and what it is you offer.
Sure. Well, they can connect to me through my webpage. That is www.marinaseren.com. And that's where I offer.
Can you spell that out? Can you spell out your
Sure.
name?
MARINASEREN, Marina Seren.
Yes. Okay, great.
And so there I have a webpage with many of my spiritual teachings or spiritual channel messages from my higher mind. I have a blog for, to share my experiences. I have a gallery of some of my UFO sightings, some of my UFO marks, and also some of my drawings of experiences that I had, and also an ET gallery of some of my own portraits that I created, and then I have a contact information that, they're a page, and I offer intuitive readings, energetic readings, and galactic portraits, as well as conscious channel messages from my higher mind.
All that, and you're still really young. For many of us, it took us a lot longer to really wake up, and some of us are still working on it. So I find your story very fascinating, and I'm grateful you joined us here today, Marina. Thank you. And I know we had some glitches here, but I'm so grateful that you were able to share some of your insights and connect with my audience here today.
Well, I'm really glad you had me here. Besides the technical difficulties, it was a pleasure to be here to share with you, Christine.
Thank you. And I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, all clear.